Hello friends, I am Aditi. Welcome to my channel Library Mouse. Today I am going to read a book, How to Develop Self-Confidence and Influence People by Public Speaking by Dale Carnegie. This book contains 12 chapters, so let's continue with chapter 7. Absurd antics taught in the name of gesture. And this brings us very naturally to the much abused question of gesture. My first lesson in public speaking was given by the president of a college in the Middle West. This lesson, as I remember it, was chiefly concerned with gesturing. It was not only useless but misleading and positively harmful. I was taught to let my arm hang loosely at my side, palm facing the rear, fingers half closed and thumb touching my leg. I was drilled to bring the arm up in a graceful curve, to make a classical swing with the wrist and then to unfold the forefinger first, the second finger next and the little finger last. When the whole aesthetic and ornamental movement had been executed, the arm was then to retrace the same graceful and unnatural curve and rest again by the side of the leg. The whole performance was wooden and affected. There was nothing sensible or honest about it. I was drilled to act as no one in his right mind ever acted anywhere. There was no attempt whatever to get me to put my own individuality into my movements. No attempt to spur me on to feeling like gesturing. No endeavor to get the flow and blood of life in the process and make it natural and unconscious and inevitable. No arguing me to let go, to be spontaneous, to break through my cell of reserve, to talk and act like a human being. No, the whole regrettable performance was as mechanical as a typewriter, as lifeless as the last year's bird next, as ridiculous as a Punch and Judy show. It seems incredible that such absurd antics could have been taught in the 20th century. Yet, only a few years ago, a book about gesturing was published. A whole book trying to make automatons out of men, telling them which gesture to make on his sentences, which to make on that, which to make with one hand, which with both, which to make high, which to make medium, which to make low, how to fold these fingers and how to hold that. I have seen 20 men at a time standing before a class, all reading the same ornate oratorical selection from such a book, all making precisely the same gestures on precisely the same words, and all making themselves precisely ridiculous, artificial, time-killing, mechanical, injurious. It has brought this whole subject into disrepute with many people. The dean of a large college in Massachusetts recently said that his institution had no course in public speaking because he had never seen one that was practical, one that taught how to speak sensibly. My sympathy was all with the dean. 9/10 of the stuff that has been written on gestures has been a waste and worse than a waste of good white paper and good black ink. Any gesture that is gotten out of a book is very likely to look like it. The place to get it is out of yourself, out of your heart, out of your mind, out of your own interest in the subject, out of your own desire to make someone else see as you see, out of your own impulses. The only gestures that are worth 1, 2, 3 are those that are born on the spur of the instant. An ounce of spontaneity is worth a tons of rules. Gesture is not a thing to be put on at will like a dinner jacket. It is merely an outward expression of inward condition, just as are kisses and colic and laughter and seasickness. And a man's gesture, like his toothbrush, should be very personal thing. And as all people are different, their gestures will be individual if they will only act natural. No two persons should be drilled to gesture in precisely the same fashion. Imagine trying to make the long, awkward, slow-thinking Lincoln gestures in the same fashion as did the rapidly talking, impetuous and polished Douglas. It would be ridiculous. Lincoln According to his biographer and law partner, Herndon did not gesticulate as much with his hand as with his head. He used the letter frequently, throwing it with beam this way and that. This movement was a significant one when he sought to enforce his statement. It sometimes comes with a quick jerk, as if throwing off electric sparks into combustible material. He never shot the air or rent space into tatters and rags as soon orators do. He never acted for stage effect. As he moved along in his speech, he became freer and less uneasy in his movements. To that extent, he was graceful. He had a perfect naturalness, a strong individuality, and to that extent, he was dignified. He despised glitter, show, set forms, and shams. There was a world of meaning and emphasis in the long, bony finger of his right hand as he dotted the ideas on the minds of the hearers. Sometimes, to express joy or pleasure, he would raise both hands at an angle of about 50 degrees, the palm upwards, as if desirous of embracing the spirit of that which he loved. If the sentiment was one of denunciation of slavery, for example, both arms thrown upward and first clenched, swept through air, and he expressed an execration that was truly sublime. This was one of his most effective gestures, and signified most vividly a fixed determination to drag down the object of his heart rate and trample it in the dust. He always stood squarely on his feet, toe even with toe, that is, he never put one foot before the other. He neither touched nor leaned on anything for support. He made but few changes in his position and attitudes. He never rented, never walked backward and forward on the platform. To ease his arms, he frequently couched hold, with his left hand, of the lapel of his coat, keeping his thumb upright and leaving his right hand free to gesticulate. St. Gaudens couched him in just that attitude in the statue which stands in Lincoln Park, Chicago. Such was Lincoln's method. Theodore Roosevelt was more vigorous, free, active, his whole face alive with feeling, his fist clenched, his entire body an instrument of expression. Bryan often used the outstretched hand with open palm. Gladstone often struck a table or his open palm with his fist, or stamped his foot with a resounding thud on the floor. Lord Rosebery used to raise his right arm and bring it down with a bold sweep that had tremendous force. But there was force first in the speaker's thoughts and convictions. That was what made the gesture strong and spontaneous. Spontaneity, life, they are the summum of action. Brooke was angular and exceedingly awkward in his gestures. Pitt saved the air with his arms, like a clumsy clown. Sir Henry Irving has handicapped by a lame leg and decidedly odd movements. Lord Macaulay's actions on the platform were ungainly. So were Grattan's, so were Parnell's. The answer then appears to be, said the late Lord Curzon at Cambridge University in an address on parliamentary eloquence, that great public speakers make their own gestures, and that while a great orator is doubtless aided by a handsome exterior and graceful action, it does not matter very much if he happens to be ugly and awkward. Many years ago, I heard the famous Gypsy Smith preach. I was enthralled by the eloquence of this man who had led so many thousands to Christ. He used gestures, lots of them, and was no more conscious of them than of the air he breathed. Such is the ideal way, and such is the way you will find yourself making gestures if you will but practice and apply these principles. I can't give you any rules for gesturing, for everything depends upon the temperature of the speaker, upon his preparation, his enthusiasm, his personality, the subject, the audience, and the occasion. Suggestions that may prove helpful. Here are, however, a few limited suggestions that may prove useful. Do not repeat one gesture until it becomes monotonous. Do not make short, jerky movements from the elbow. The movements from the shoulder look better on the platform. Do not end your gestures too quickly. If you are using the index fingers to drive home your thought, do not be afraid to hold our gestures through an entire sentence. The failure to do this is a very common error and a serious one. It distorts your emphasis, making small things unimportant and truly important points seem trivial by comparison. When you are doing real speaking before a real audience, make only the gestures that come natural. But while you are practicing, force yourself, if necessary, to use gestures. Force yourself to do it, and the doing of it will so awaken and stimulate you that your gestures will soon be coining unshot. Shut your book. You can't learn gestures from a printed page. Your own impulses as you are speaking are more to be trusted, more valuable than anything any instructor can possibly tell you. If you forget all else we have said about gesture and delivery, remember this. If a man is so wrapped up in what he has to say, if he is so eager to get his message across that he forgets himself and talks and acts spontaneously, then his gestures and his delivery, unstudied through they may be, are very likely to be almost above criticism. If you doubt this, walk up to a man and knock him down. You will probably discover that when he regains his feet, the talk he delivers will be well nigh flawless as a gem of eloquence. Here are the best 11 words I have ever read on the subject of delivery. Fill up the barrel, knock out the bung, let nature caper. Here we complete our chapter 7. In next video we will continue with chapter 8. Thank you so much for listening it, and I hope it is understandable to you. If you enjoy watching my videos, do like, subscribe and share with your family and friends. Thank you.